Hello and welcome to Face to Face. On Face to Face, the hard issues are discussed, often as politicians. But today, we're changing gear a bit to see how we can do on the other side of Face to Face. My guest on Face to Face today, his real name is Kwame Amatafa Chikata. That may mean nothing to you, except maybe the Chikata at the end, but that's not what we are focusing on. His name, which is known to all, is M.anifest. M. You're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
It's good to see you and your cowboy hat. I wish I could wear some.
Is that what we call this, a cowboy hat?
I don't know.
I suppose.
I mean, for Texas people, they usually would wear something.
I think the brims will be longer.
I'm not that.
I'm not a hat aficionado either. So let's not delve into that.
Why M with a dot and then M.anifest? How do you come with such a name?
I mean, musicians are outlaws. What would I look like having a mundane name?
Nobody will remember you.
Yeah. It was also, if you choose something that is, I don't want to say commonplace, but as within common language like M.anifest, I think that there needed to be a differentiating aspect to it.
Okay.
And you have to do it in a cool way. You can't put dash, you can't put apostrophe. The da to the works.
Sounds good. Sounds good. If you're walking on the road and hear someone shouting, Amatafa, would you turn around? Or is it not?
Yes, but before I turn around, that signifies that the person knows me from a different time in my life.
How about if you had Kwame? Because others will usually say Kwame instead of Kwame.
Then I know the person doesn't know me because nobody's ever called me Kwame.
Nobody calls you Kwame?
No, not even my grandmother.
Wow. That's interesting. So you've always been an entertainment person. You were an entertainment prefect. Is that something like you've always been planning to do? You're a dancer? What?
No, absolutely. Absolutely had no idea and no expectation that I could actually choose this as a career path. I mean, I had a passion for the arts, I had a passion for writing, I had a passion for music, but I would absolutely be honest and say until I finished, by the time I was in university or college, I knew it was a possibility in my mind, but even the pragmatism, the idea of how to go about this was, I didn't go to school for music, it was never there. So I think somewhere along the line, what happened was that I took a leap of faith to embrace what would then you look at as a higher calling, but it's something that I absolutely was not prepared for growing up.
So, but you grew up in a music home. You had a generation of music.
Yes, absolutely. I think.
Were you deliberately, tailored towards music? Maybe you had it, but you didn't see it. So someone decided to groom you in that path. Was there any such thing?
On the contrary, there was my grandfather, who I guess you're referring to. There was a lot of, there was freedom. He would offer knowledge, but there was and I was surrounded physically by things I could access musically, from cassettes, his field recordings, etc. But I didn't used to pick up the field recording tapes to listen to Ghanaian music. No, I wanted to find blank tapes to record hip hop over.
That's what you were doing.
Yes. So we probably lost some great field recordings because I dubbed over them. So apologies.
But what about hip hop then attracted you? Because you had so much high life at the time, I believe. This would be the Daddy Lumbers, the Prudential era.
Yeah, I mean, I loved high life. I think all of us who grew up with our parents' music, which was high life, we loved it. It's Ghanaian pop music that I think in the 20th century has really made an impact. But every generation seeks to have music of its own and claims that space. And I think that's what hip hop and then later hip life became for us. So it's the agency was given to young people. Hip hop has always been dominated. It's a youthful voice. So as a younger person, the relation, if you think about some of the early hip hop groups growing up at that time, Crisscross, they were kids. The greats that we know, Nas put out his first major album at 19. So I think in a sense of accessibility, music that speaks the thoughts of the youth, no matter how foreign, would be more alluring. But I love music as a whole, so it wasn't just restricted to loving hip hop.
But do you remember which of the hip hop artists maybe drew you into the culture more? And it could even be a local hip hop person here in Ghana.
Yeah, I
think the closest we had to hip hop was Reggie Rockstone, wasn't it?
But I think we started even listening before that, and there was also things happening at Children's Park where when they were, I can't remember if they call them fanfares or
Don't ask me, you were Dadabi, I wasn't even in Accra.
Oh wow, so Children's Park, before Sutherland has given us this for you to just ascribe it to Dadabis.
Yeah, I mean, for you to shut down nicely, wear kambu or sneakers as you call them now, and go to Sutherland, that's usually a Dadabi thing. The hustlers will be hopping kerosene and things. So,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You grew up Dadabi life, didn't you?
Absolutely, a life of privilege I accept.
Thank you, thank you. If I'm going on a road trip, say I'm driving to Keta or Takrady or Kumasi, I would like to slot in a Kanda Bongo Man or a Lucky Dube. What do you slot in?
I could slot in those, Manu Dibango or Lucky Dube.
Okay.
What is actually curious is that because I create the kind of music I create, I spend a lot of time listening to music unlike what I create. So you might, in these current times, you might have me listen to some Cesaria Evora, you know.
Wow.
You can have me going back to some throwback hip hop, some Naughty by Nature,
okay.
or Fugees.
Okay.
A big Coltrane fan. I like also digging into music from Africa in different pop music from Africa from different periods of time. So. I mean, I have a fascination with Fuji music from Nigeria currently as well. Because, so yeah, it does. It depends on how and when you catch me. If it's party time, I'll be listening to some very recent stuff.
In Ghanaian, so if you wanted to just listen to a Ghanaian artist while driving on an hour or two journey road trip, which one would it be?
I'd definitely put in Obrafour Paimuka.
Oh, you love Obrafour that much?
Yes, I think Obrafour would probably be my greatest Ghanaian rapper inspiration, easily.
I think so too. Me too. That makes the two Yeah, is solid. I love Obrafour.
Yeah, I mean.
And you did a collab. Is that what you call collaboration with him?
Yes.
How was that like working with someone?
It was surreal. I think it was surreal because as much as you become a creator, you don't undo the past. So you never unlive the admiration and sort of how that music helped you grow up as a human being. So Obrafour and his body of work, but particularly Paimuka, is very significant. It made me realize that it was possible. Well, Reggie made us realize it was possible. I think Obrafour let me realize the heights to which you can really take it. And Obrafour is a philosopher. I mean, I think anybody who listens to him knows that.
That's true.
And I think as a person who is a creative and not just interested in entertainment, but just creativity having a greater significance, I think of somebody like Obrafour represented that listening to Paimuka.
Recently, I think he marked the 20th anniversary of Paimuka. That's on his personal level. As a country or as a state that may be interested in pushing tourism, do you think there was something we could have deliberately done about Obrafour? Considering that, I mean, Reggie may have been the guy who introduced it, but I definitely think Obrafour made it popular for me. Do you think there's something you could have done to celebrate him more, perhaps to keep him up there, or to even keep that whole thing called hip life up there?
Well, number one, well, two things. Let me correct you. Not correct you, but I think we should also always realize that all of them play their roles.
Yeah.
So we're not going to pit Reggie and Obrafour.
That's why that's why I said Reggie definitely brought it. I don't know. I'm not even going to be interested in this debate. They're all there. But you have your own preferences.
Cool. Just to clear that.
That's my preference.
As a representative of the music culture and terrain, I can't sit here and not make certain corrections.
That's good. But you also allow me to have my opinions.
You can.
Thank you so much.
So I can rebuttal is clearly possible as well.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
So I do think, I agree with you. I think more could have been done and more could be done. There were private individuals that helped to celebrate it, and he himself took it upon himself to really do shows in different places. I did the Kumasi show with him as well. There was a documentary that was made, but more could be done. But it also goes to show that as a people, our understanding of documenting history in a more present sense has to be, we have to take it more seriously, and that appreciation helps to shape our appreciation and understanding of us as a people, because he is a living testament of of something that's still very alive and very present today. And that's the time capsule being Paramuka being celebrated is significant to actually let people start maybe investigating the music. How do we get there, etc. So yeah, more can always be done. Yeah.
There is a view that Nigerian music sells more because they sing it in English. Now, do you think if Obrafour did what he did in English, he would have gone beyond the boundaries of Ghana? I know people may listen to him across the continent, but do you think he would have gone further if he was doing it in English? What do you think about that mix?
Well, I think the premise is false.
Okay.
Music is a language on its own. Obviously, when people understand you, what you're saying, there might be an immediate connection, but it's not a requirement. The musical connection is language is the requirement. The bigger problem becomes, it's a marketing problem, not a creating problem. Okay. You know, a friend of mine always said, you know, who's successful, the creator or the marketer? I think maybe that's part of what is the difference between us and some of our compatriots in other African countries. I think marketing comes with resources, it comes with also some additional creativity and ambition and aggression. But Lamide does most of his stuff not in English.
Okay.
But you cannot tell me that it is restrictive. So I think Obrafour did well to set a certain foundation for us. And I think if they had more resources, I think the world would have known people like Obrafour.
Well, my thinking is that Bob Marley is a prophet, as in the language that he uses. You said Obrafour is a prophet or uses philosopher. Bob Marley does his in English, so it appeals to someone listening in India, someone listening in Jamaica, someone listening in Nigeria. Obrafour may say similar things to what Bob Marley says, except that someone in Uganda may not understand what he's saying. So that's what I'm looking at. Is it not too restrictive to use a domesticated, a local language, and hope to get international appeal?
No, I mean, but it comes with different variables. How you choose to do your art, the deliberateness of it, comes with different variables. If you choose to be the most authentic person you are, is to do it in whatever language that you are most proficient or most powerful in, then there's other tweaks you look at. You might look at the musical landscape you choose to rap or sing on, which might be the thing that becomes much more what do you call it, understood by the world, because now that reggae has become commonplace, I bet you people are doing reggae not in English but in pure patois, and it still has its resonance the way it does. I mean, there have been worldwide hits, Gangnam Style and stuff that has nothing to do with English.
That's true.
But I do agree that it's just a factor. These are all variables, but it's not a singular factor. You don't all of a sudden start singing or rapping in English, then you're accepted by the world. It's false.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work that way.
Now, talking about reality. You have just told me that, well, you grew up in not a poor home, but you were writing lines that are supposed to appeal to people from poor backgrounds, or talking about street life, hustler life. You have something you wrote in 2011, I think you called it Blues, is that what you call it?
Yeah,
where you talk about, I miss me feeling free, climbing on a mango tree. Did you really suffer? Because that was a line.
Those are suffering? Is that a description of suffering or the freedom of a child? How does the typical Ghanaian child exist?
Gary soakings for breakfast, noodles for dinner. For supper, yeah. Was that something you lived as a child, or this is just something you talk about to resonate with the people on the street?
My next door neighbor in Medina had a mango tree. We used to climb it. We had a guava tree. We climbed it. People even break their bones and go to hospital. Okay. These are lived experiences. You see, I think sometimes one thing I consider as a privilege as well is being from a place of access, but also living in a space that also allowed me to experience Ghana in multiple layers.
So you've seen both worlds.
Yeah, so I'm not claiming that I was starving. I'm claiming that Gary soakings for breakfast is not a lie. I'm climbing the mountain. It's not a lie. It is. So there are various points of, I think, connectivity. I didn't grow up in an estate with.
but my point. So was it difficult appealing to people who really truly ate Gary soakings for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And this will be Gary Soakins without groundnuts and milk.
Yeah, but I think, for instance, that song is not about Gary Soakins, nor the experience of eating Gary Soakins. It is not about suffering either, okay. So let me correct you. It's about nostalgia. Okay. It's about remembering the past and how you grew up. And sometimes as we grow up and you experience more things like paved roads, etc., and things that we think are advancements, it doesn't feel as free as the little things that we had growing up. When we were growing up, all the roads were dusty. But we used to ride our bikes on where they would put the mounts and stuff and enjoyed it. It was so much fun. But I want paved roads, but now it doesn't feel as much fun. So it was a song about nostalgia. So to pick it apart with that would be a distraction in terms of what it actually is. And lastly, I think the power of empathy and the power of being an artist is sometimes using points of empathy or points of connectivity to communicate. You understand? Like, I mean, making great music is not the preserve of anybody by virtue of being poor. Okay. Who told that lie?
That's a line I'll be quoting you on. The music industry and COVID-19. You did an interview in which you said the next big thing would be in London on May 28th. You said it's going to be an unforgettable party. I'm going to bring a refreshing and vibrant set that will feel familiar but very different to what folks experience from the current wave of popular African music. You talk about a concert that was coming up in London. I'm sure that definitely didn't happen because of COVID-19, did it?
I mean, I was smiling when I heard you read back my own words. Clearly, with all my talents, the prophecies were not one of them. Having
and COVID prophecies did not work with you?
Absolutely not. No, it did not. Okay.
How did that affect you? Because this was like a grand thing you talked about. I can't even pronounce the name of the place where the concert was going to be. It's XOYO. How is that pronounced?
XOYO.
Okay.
Yes.
How big a disappointment was it for you that never happened? And to think that you said this in March and then there was a lockdown a few weeks later and then it never came.
I know, right? And we're still in the same year. I mean, I can't even look back at it as a long forgotten past. I don't look at it as disappointment. I think I've been around long enough to know that I have to adapt to challenges. I think I was quick to really reconfigure my mind, not to focus on what are missed opportunities, but to focus on what can be done. Because this was being faced by everybody in the world. I mean, what kind of selfish person would I be to be sitting there moaning and groaning about an individual disappointment? No, there's something going on that's larger than me. I have to. When you do those kind of things, it helps you reconfigure quickly, and that's what I did. So I'm not out here crying over spilled milk, not in the least. Yeah.
But you lost money.
But I'm still alive.
but you may have lost a gallon or two of petrol.
I mean, I have so much of my life to live.
Because I believe, aside the money, there's more that you are going to get from a concert like that. And I'm sure you had several other things planned. Yes. And I'm sure it's really a big deal. Reading these quotes, it was really a big deal for you. Yes. And I'm sure you're not the only one who's disappointed. Several other people, not disappointed, you don't want to use that word, but so many other people may have had big plans.
I mean, if that's what you want me to admit.
Just admit it.
Because you're trying very hard.
It's pain you, but I not go cry.
Yeah, no.
Have you costed COVID-19, as in how it has affected you? Have you costed it in, say, monetary terms, if you like?
No, not yet, because I still have a couple of moves to make this year. And I think we have to create some opportunities out of these disappointments and problems. And they are still, so I haven't costed it out. I just definitely know the stream of income has been, especially from the shows, we know it's 0 to none. It's gone to expose sort of how fractured the structure is that supports Ghanaian musicians, because most people are primarily making money from shows. So can you imagine a lot of artists, no matter how much they're buzzing, especially younger artists, can you imagine what this period has been for them? So I mean, I think I haven't costed it out, but it's been quite costly. And I think it's actually a time for us to figure out ways, and people who are interested in knowing that music and the creative ecosystem has a great contribution to the nation, it's time to actually band together and figure out new ways to resuscitate this thing, because otherwise we're going to go a couple of years backwards.
Do you think there are opportunities that you could have taken advantage of during this COVID? People talk about virtual concerts and all on. Or you do not think virtual concerts can really do as much as real concerts would have done, physical concerts?
I think the virtual concerts that were done were under the auspices of really people wanted something, you know, people connecting to the artists. They love the music they love as a point as relief, as catharsis in this period. But in terms of a business model, I mean, I know people like Eric Abadu did stuff that people pay $1 for, but in terms of a business model, it's not shown itself to be sustainable. You know.
Have you tried something like that?
Not a paying thing, but I was involved with a couple of virtual concerts. MTV Bases Africa Day, I was one of the artists. Excuse me, I did that. I did one YouTube stay-at-home series. I think I've done at least 3 of them. I mean, these are of a minor scale, but I don't think in Ghana, look, it's going to be an interesting business problem to solve if we really are going to say, let's say for the rest of the year, the thing that can earn people money is virtual concerts, because people's willingness to even use their data to watch a YouTube video instead of just let somebody else download and send it to them. That's one thing already. Just even
so the use of the economy of things.
Yeah. So I mean, in the digital space, there's a lot of opportunity for growth, but this is also certainly challenge people in the creative ecosystem to think of new ways to really power through and make revenue. Yeah.
This is Face to Face on City TV. My name is Omar Sanda. My guest is a Medina boy, studied economics, decided to do rap. I don't know how he chose all of that, and he's working with it perfectly well so far. When we come back, we'll talk more about COVID and how the impact is on the art industry or the music and entertainment industry. But we'll also talk about politics. I'm sure when you heard me mention his name, there's a Chikata in there somewhere, and Chikata is significant in the courts and in politics. Is he going to be a lawyer next, a politician? If he's given the job as Minister for Tourism, will he take it? This is Face to Face. Don't go away. My interview with M.anifest returns shortly.
Hi, my name is Michelle Atto. Join me and my friends from First National Bank as we host our maiden virtual property developers forum. Now, this is after a successful acquisition and subsequent merger with GHL Bank. Are you a player in the real estate development ecosystem? Are you a real estate developer? Are you an agent? Or are you a broker? If you are, then you don't want to miss this virtual property developers forum happening on the 6th of August at 10 a.m. This will be an opportunity for you to ask any questions regarding home loans to the entire leadership team. Now, this event is strictly by invitation, so please contact Marina on 020-927-9459 or Mantibia on 024-274-8162 to book your seat. First National Bank, how can we?
You're welcome back to Face to Face. My name is Umar Sanda. My guest, M.anifest, M.dot. How many dots are there in there?
The T.
So 4 dots with a T.
Yeah.
That's an M.dot. So my guest is M.dot. My real name is Kwame Ametafe Chikata. Are you an Nkrumahist? You somewhere in 2012 wrote, Africa is now. Are you an Nkrumahist?
In 2012?
Yeah.
Wow, that's 8 years ago. The internet never forgets.
I know.
I definitely am a keen follower, admirer, and appreciator of what Nkrumah did, his ideologies, and his visionary status. I don't know if... to say, I guess I subscribe to a lot of the Pan-African ideals and a sort of the progressive ideals that he said. I mean, I don't know what that Nkrumah means, thinking of it politically, but I guess that's how I see it. I definitely am a pro-Nkrumah person. Yeah.
Is that why you're in the US and wearing African clothing and using Akan language in your rap lines, was that all part of the Pan-African thing? Or?
That is such a strange question. Wow. Because nobody questions Japanese person for wearing Japanese clothes.
I know, I'm just so there are Pan-Africanists who are Pan-African in outlook, in their costume and all of that. I'm just asking if that's what you are trying to represent yourself, even though you're not here, you're not in Africa.
No, I think there's a normal. I don't think you have to assimilate anywhere you go. I think that there has to be a normalization of the fact that if today I'm wearing a suit or tomorrow I'm wearing, a batakari, there's nothing uncommon about that, or it doesn't have to be deliberate. The problem is that now we think it's Friday wear, so anybody who normalizes it is seen as Afrocentric. I don't even mind that. But yeah, I mean, we've seen Nkrumah in suits. We saw him in Batakaris. We saw him in different things. Mm-hmm. So it's a deliberateness to not to say that we're not inferior. The outlook, but that is on the surface. That's superficial. Mm-hmm. You can wear African print and have an afro and still be the least progressive person in life.
That is true.
It's just, I think it's more than symbolic, because people's identity helps them imagine who they are, what they subscribe to. If you think everything Western is superior, you will quickly, whether it's in economic principles and stuff, you will quickly subscribe to stuff that is in line with that. So it's all together. But I always find it curious, because in any other culture or any other people, I use Asian people a lot as that, whether it's Indian people, etc. You see what they wear. If they do it in any other country, nobody sees it as them trying to exert themselves as in their identities. It's normal place. We are the ones who've been told constantly, whether it's by our skin color, so we have to bleach, and other things, that we have to aspire to something else. So when somebody is doing what is normal and natural to us, it's like, oh, you think, is that why you are doing this? No?
I think one of your lines, you mentioned something about Friday wear. You clearly don't think that we should have a Friday wear designated to an African print, do you? It should be free for all, every day, anytime, anywhere.
I mean, I don't have a prescription, but I definitely know that the motivation was good, and it probably increased people desiring, to, I guess, wear made in Ghana. It doesn't have to be print. There's a Ghanaian, it's a Nigerian in Ghana, but there's an African who made this. Okay. I mean, there's designers. There's so many creative. Fashion is quite forward. There's so many creative young people. It's like music.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have to make the music of our parents, but we can still make Ghanaian music of today.
Yeah.
So the same thing with fashion and how our outlook to that. A wonderful tie. You're wearing a tie.
Yeah.
But it's Ghana made.
I was going to say that you were not going to acknowledge my African print tie.
No, I mean, why should I? I mean, the material is probably from China anyway.
Most likely, but it was sewn here in Accra.
Yeah, so at least you contributed to that economy.
So 30%.
And it's fashion forward, because it's still a tie. You're not doing by force that because it's print you have to make it into something traditional. Tradition evolves. It's not static. Anyway.
That's true. What do you think Ghana has missed about Nkrumah, so that if Nkrumah were still around, do you think we'll be where we are?
I mean, I can't tell, but definitely if I'm just to use history as a marker, I'll say that there was a lot more achieved in that time. There was a lot more understanding of a national agenda, even though some will argue that, okay, he made CPP the
de facto
whatever, but I think there was an understanding of that development and that kind of understanding. I think partisanship has really hurt us over the years, in which the idea of a national agenda, development agenda, and us disagreeing on many different things, but having a goal, whether it's capitalist, socialist, whatever. Even though I think capitalism in itself is trying to is basically a few people trying to take advantage of a lot of people, because you what do you call it? You buy low and you sell high. So if I can pay you 2 cedis to interview me, and then I can take the content and sell it for 2,000 cedis, why would I pay you more than anyway?
That's true. We'll get to the capitalist socialism.
No.
I'll raise it later in the interview. Yeah. But what do you think is a national agenda? So you move around. You call yourself the Medina boy. I'm sure you move.
I call myself that. That is false. I identify myself with where I grew up.
Okay.
But I don't.
I'm saying you are a Medina boy. Is that fair?
It's fair.
Oh, funny. Yeah, no. when you move around Medina, when you see Medina Zongo, you see the people there. You drive through Nima, you drive through Circles, and all these. When you see people, and you think of the national agenda, clearly we are not going there. We are not on. The agenda has not been seen. As in, we've not realized the agenda we're looking for. What do you think should be done? You've talked about non-partisanship, but of course there have to be politicians in there to run government. But what is the key thing you want to see that you are not seeing? And how do you think we can get there? How can we have the national agenda realized?
Wow, it's wonderful to ask a musician to solve Ghana's
because you're Pan-Africanist, so
absolutely no.
and you're forward-looking.
No, it's absolutely. And even as a citizen, I'll have my opinions. It's not because I'm an expert. I'm not speaking as an expert, but I think everywhere in the world, and especially in the so-called third world, you can see certain basic things that we're talking about access to education, good education for a majority of people. We're talking about things like basic sanitation, gutters, etc. You're talking about healthcare. You're talking about other things that improve the quality of life for a lot of people. And I think sometimes what tends to happen is that we focus on parochial interests, and the things that will improve the quality of life for the working class or the masses of people doesn't happen. Some of the basic things I'm mentioning, you understand? So the things that affect everybody. You can get into the nuances of what policies do what, etc., whether it's in agriculture, what we have to do we have to do subsidies, etc. You can get into all that, but that's not what I'm speaking about. I'm talking about a broader understanding of what are the things we need to address. I think we can all come to agreements about that. If I talk about sanitation, you and I can agree about what some of the things we need to fix, whether it's in urban planning, in these gutters, etc. The last time I was on Twitter talking about how I personally, I'm not eating wache near the gutter because I don't think, I haven't romanticized it as this thing and the smell helps.
You don't think it's good enough as people clean it?
Well,
I can say to you that it is, but let's proceed.
Okay, then maybe in that sense we can disagree about what sanitation means. But I think some of these things...
Actually, it means nothing really. I think it's how it's cooked, not where it's being sold, that matters.
Yes, so you even if there's germs and after COVID, aren't you?
No, I'm saying that I think I agree with you.
But we don't know where it's cooked. So
it's not about where it's being sold. If it's good wache, it's good wache. Yeah. My wife does good wache, and she doesn't cook it by the gutter, and she doesn't sell it there, but it really tastes good. So, what would you look out for? Say, if people were or young people had jobs, that would be the biggest thing you want to see. And how do you think music can be used to champion the national agenda and entertainment?
I'll expand it. I think the creative, we haven't looked at, we have looked at art as entertainment and entertainment alone. But I think there is definitely a role of the creative industry or the creative ecosystem in what you would consider national development. You're talking about being able to shape how people think. I'll give a small example that I have used before, that music, for instance, has a way of either normalizing something bad or ostracizing it, So I'll give two quick examples. One would be normalizing colorism and saying me brony, and next thing you know, everybody understands that lighter is better implicitly. Or the other thing will be, let's say, a Miss Bell doing an RB 16 years, in which trying to give agency to young girls to fight away predators. So there is this power to be able to do that. It doesn't even have to be conscious music, but you can actually shape cultural identity and how we think about ourselves, whether it's with print, etc. So, and in the creative realm as a whole, has other ways to contribute, and coming back to Nkrumah, since we are so fascinated, I think I'll sum it up by saying that the thing that my grandfather mentioned about Nkrumah, which was significant, was that he said Nkrumah made art a political priority because he understood its importance in nation building. I think we might need to come back more to that, whether as private people or as a nation as a whole.
If you were given the job as Minister for Tourism
I wouldn't
and
take
Creative,
it.
why? you want us to get somewhere. You have a private responsibility or personal responsibility to help develop the country. You're given the job. Here you are, run the policy for creative arts and ministry.
I wouldn't take it. Like I said, I think we all have to figure out what our roles in this life are and where we are most effective. I think I'm most effective in the private sphere and in pursuing things that will still have transformation. And I mean, I guess this year I'll speak more about some of those things. But I think, in every society, not just because you might have opinions about something doesn't qualify you or doesn't mean that you're interested in that. Because if you're not passionate about political office, for instance, you can become quite disillusioned quickly, I think, because if you think you're just passionate about issues and that's all it comes with. Politics is the whole thing.
But what if you're given the head of Ghana Tourism Authority, maybe?
Why is it because I'm a musician you're thinking Ghana tourism?
No, because we're looking at, everybody plays to their strength. So your strength is creatives. And there's a ministry for tourism and creative arts. You clearly don't want to take up...
Ronald Reagan was an actor. Or what was he? I think so.
I know. But you have just said, so you're not interested in doing the political appointee thing, which is the Minister for Tourism. But Ghana Tourism Authority is a state institution. Of course, the appointment may be political. But I'm just saying that you're saying that your only contribution to development is by sharing your comments on Twitter. If you're given the role to lead and do something, you can do it, or you won't do it.
No, I'm not saying my only contribution is that. I think I'd rather work in the private space in different private enterprise to make things happen. So, for instance, we are here. And I have a major collaboration I'm not speaking much about, but with Impact Hub, in which we're developing certain things for the creative space. But I want to, sometimes talk less and do more. So when it's time, we will have another conversation about that.
What do you think about creative people going into politics?
Creative people going into politics? I mean, if you're qualified, it doesn't matter your background, Being a lawyer doesn't make you more qualified. I think a great documentary that people should see, great is obviously an hyperbole here, but a recent one is a documentary called Knock Down the House. It's about America and how in 2018 the Democrats and some people on the left really rallied to bring people outside of politics, like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was a bartender and worked in a non-profit. Who has she become now? So we have to begin asking ourselves what qualifies you for public office. Is it about how astute you are, how your integrity, your principles, how hardworking and diligent you are, how you're able to solve problems, or is it about a degree that you hold? So I don't think it's restricted to just creative. So somebody can be a teacher and be more qualified to become not even just Minister of Education, but something else.
Something bigger.
Yes.
Will you be a politician ever?
No.
No politics for you?
No politics for me.
And Dad is a lawyer.
Thank you.
but he's a lawyer in the political space. Okay. That has not influenced you in any way.
Okay, I think, like you're saying, he's a lawyer in the political space. So I haven't seen him at the rally. I haven't seen him, running for office. So maybe I think you're overestimating whatever his involvement will influence me.
That has no influence. So there's not been any conversation around you going to politics?
Not at all. I think I have, the person I am, and my curiosity and my intrigue about the world and interest in us pushing forward. I'm definitely interested in stuff that goes on, but I don't see my role as running for office, no.
But you like socialism better than capitalism?
I think we moved past that argument. Those were Cold War argument days. I think these times it's about taking the best from different ideas. Even Nkrumah, I think, was playing all different
both
parts
ways,
of it. So we, as Africans,
we move forward. We don't face east or west. We face forward.
Thank you very much. I think, and as Africans, I think the bigger challenge is to really not always adopt systems that don't easily just function the way, but to really use the mistakes of others to really see how we can shape our democracy or whatever systems we have in better ways. So I'm not interested in sort of socialism or capitalism as a self-identifier.
Entertainment people, you have a lot of following, and some of them use their following or sway their following or even advise their following to join one political party or another. Is that something you would do?
No.
You would not invite your followers to vote for any party in this coming election?
I think partisanship is really a red herring from the idea of talking about development and national agenda. Okay. So if you are Kotoko and I'm Hart, we are still both black stars, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, when we're able to do that in sports, we should be able to do that in politics. You don't always have to, your civic engagement doesn't always have to do with selecting or choosing a political party. Because how many are we talking more about the issues, quote and unquote, or what it is that people are bringing to the table, you know?
So you don't ask them to vote for any of the leaders. So let's leave parties out. There are so many leaders who want to be the leaders of this country. Do you have you made a decision on who you think should lead Ghana, say from January next year? And is that something you're willing to ask other people to join you, or you keep it to your head and go cast your ballot and move on?
I think what is more important to me, in my interest now, in using the example of the documentary I mentioned, is how are we maybe going to be more engaged in local politics, like parliamentarians and etc., which are very significant to people in their locality. And how many are there going to be more young people getting into politics and in governance? Because that's more important to me. So it's like young people who I can trust. You know, often enough I meet some friends and I ask, which of the people who went to UPS, University Primary, is anybody running for office, etc.? And more often than not, I'm not hearing that. And it's a bit disappointing because I think, you know, more young people need to be determining the future, not older people who are closer to.
I recently interviewed retired General Nunu Mensah, and he said something to the effect that young people are appointed into government, young people who do not have experience. You are more tilted towards wanting young people involved in the development. But often we are told that these young people do not have the needed experience. How do you balance the two?
Where do you get experience from if you don't do the work?
By understanding older people, and that's the idea he gave me.
If we look at historically where changes mostly come from, it's come from younger people, you know. How old was Nkrumah when he was president? I mean, when we look at Amilcar Cabral, we look at African revolutionaries, Sankara, we look at everywhere in the world. Because what they say is that, you know, liberal at 16, conservative at 60. The older you get, the less even energy that you have for, you know, for aggressive change or radical change. Let me not say aggressive change. And I think, you know, young people have a lot to lose and to gain in a lot of policies and other things that are instituted, because you're going to inherit that life. So lots of young people have to be involved. And this is not just a Ghana thing, it's a global thing, and it's beginning to change in other places, and I hope we learn that as well. Yeah.
This is Face to Face on City TV. M.anifest is my guest. We've been having a conversation around his career and all of that, but there's one thing that matters in the entertainment industry. It's called beef. It has nothing to do with the meat produced by cattle. We'll talk about the beef in the music industry when we come back. Don't go away.
Remember, maybe I'm quite chain, and no Juma no yen, it's most of me fed the major. You may have a mini invitation there, Guinness full by a program do work your puss. Now your prayer was winning Bomerva. Now, you told me, young with the Epton son, another Eptona, what products and Cotia. 3 months to be a water, what a bubble. 1 month to be a so was what a battle. Say, I will see to me, young air, the mother of Baba Winter. 1 month on the Shino, or your Augustin, Minya, Guinness, ne origin, 19 crates. Auto debut, Minya 14 crates. Third one, Minya television. Fourth one, Minya mobile money. Fifth one, Massanage mobile money. Into when you woman a day, I Jimmy Pa, Mamma Winjai, when you woman. Steven was so bad, no, I bomb. Almost say I'm marketing as an apostle. Because the TV in marketing or yes, so I'm ball into our boys and so when you're there, what Babaha, now I wash your board now. When you boom and son, I quantum.
You're welcome back to Face to Face. Umar Sandamadu is my name. City TV is the station you're watching. My guest is M.anifest. Who is your favorite dancehall artist?
My favorite dancehall artist.
I think that's Ghana.
Nah, I can't say I have a favorite, you know, but I think some of the most obvious people are definitely. Okay. I lots of respect for all the top ones, you know, all of them.
I know what to do. Stonebwoy or Shatta.
In what aspect?
Which one do you like most?
As a person, as a musician.
As M.anifest.
Is it?
As M.anifest.
As M.anifest, I like both of them. Good, you know, they both have their different strengths. The Stonebwoy is very melodic. Shatta just has a certain je ne sais quoi, and I think he's also the man of the moment now. So big up yourself. SM for life.
I was going to ask you what you make of that collaboration and what it means to the industry.
I mean, I think it shows that you can be yourself, and pop stars in the world will be interested. It's good that it creates noise, hype, and opportunity for also a myriad of creatives that worked on the video and stuff. But it also should remind us that we should see that we too are somebody, and that there's way much more to do. Let's not. I mean, it's a good thing for Shatta, but it's a good thing for Beyonce too that she works with Shatta.
She benefited.
Yeah.
We shouldn't think it's just.
No, of course.
We should also see that we are valuable, and
we have to see ourselves that way. We absolutely have to see ourselves. There's you know, monkeys play by their size to a certain degree in every aspect of life.
So she knew the value of what she was going. She just didn't do it to do Shatta a favor. You think? She was definitely going to benefit so much.
It's not benefit. I mean, mutual respect, and also amongst artists means that you think this thing that you're doing works. The song itself, I think, speaks for itself. That people really like it. So ultimately that's the goal. You
have dodged my question on whether you like Stonebwoy or Shatta. You have found a way of answering it. I have the next question, which was going to be, who is your best rapper in Ghana? But in 2017, January, you had said in Ghana there are only two rappers, M.anifest and the rest. So I will not ask you who's your best rapper.
But when I just to clarify, when I say that, I always exclude those who came before me, because Obrafour is the greatest of all time. Those ones before me, I can't even put the people who raise you up in this thing. You can't put yourself on a pedestal against them.
So those who came after you, none.
Those who came after them, yeah, nobody.
You be the number one.
Yeah, but you know, today is not a day to, you know, they say self-praise is no praise.
I know, but
when I am doing my thing, the goal is to reach that bar of excellence that's like at the top of that, the apex or the pinnacle of this art form. And I know that I've put in a lot of work, and I constantly strive for that level of excellence. So in my mind, especially when these quotes you're saying, they're not interview quotes, they're song quotes. It's from Keep Shining. I'm like, no, they hear me to impress or beat on my chest. Only two rappers in Ghana, M.anifest and the rest. That's the approach I go into.
But of course, you have to do that, which is part of your.
Yeah, but I don't just do that. It's convincing. If you're not that good, it won't be that convincing. Okay. Everybody does it. Okay. But that's part of it. So that's my approach, and that mind state. I really feel that way when I am creating. But most of the creation is not about braggadocio. But we need that to give the people.
The beef you had with Sarko there, was that with the two of you, you know, either exchange WhatsApp messages or met at a place and decided, Charlie, you know, let me do a song and do this thing against you, then you do another one, then people will get us.
Not at all.
Never. It was never planned. So people thought it was a planned beef. It was not planned.
Nope.
So what was it about? God MC?
No, it's about the difference in opinion, and about also the fact that I think we are autonomous in where we stand, and if you feel slighted by something or you feel like I have a different opinion, then say it. It's cool. I mean, it happens in other fields where people disagree and they can say what they say. So it's nothing different with music, and it becomes a competitive rivalry. It becomes like sports. It helps everybody get better. So
Is this healthy, you think? It could get crazy sometimes, especially for your fans.
Yeah, I think it's healthy, but I think sometimes it's misguided, because sometimes people are constantly trying to court attention by finding ways to just be nasty to or rude to other people. When it's not authentic, when you don't actually have an issue and you're always drumming up controversy, I think sometimes that's why it's confusing. It's like you're just trying to stay in the news by quote unquote beefing. But I have no problem with competitive rivalry in general, because I think we like it in sports, we like it in other places. There's no reason why in music it should be any different.
Upon hindsight, what happened with Sarkodie yourself? Would you say it was perhaps misguided, or
no,
you stand by what happened at the time?
Absolutely. And I think most importantly, we're all far behind us. I mean, I featured on the song recently, and so that shows you that there wasn't distraction, there wasn't a debris left in the wake of our engagement. If anything, there was conversation.
Have you been cooking anything this COVID era that you are going to put on the pot?
Absolutely.
And then perhaps serve us shortly?
Absolutely.
What should we be expecting?
A lot of music that reminds me of how I began, because COVID forced me to go back to basics.
How was solitude like? I mean,
I don't have a problem with solitude, but I think mentally, when you know that the option no day is different, and also I had to get back into recording at home, which is how I began. And I think it's important sometimes back to basics. It's like if you're a farmer and you have a tractor and the farm equipment spoils, you might have to pick up the cutlass and still get the same result. So that's what COVID did, I think, in trying to let me go back to basics and to remind myself that no matter how advanced you think you've been through this, it's about the quality of the work, and you should be able to do it whether you're at home or you're in the studio. So, yeah.
So you record from home, as in you have your own studio at home that you do record?
Yeah, equipment. It's not even. I was even recording in my dining hall.
Oh wow!
Literally. So I mean, that's the advantage of technology. Actually, avails, like you have stuff that you can use, and so it's almost makeshift studios. So you have a good studio mic. You have studio monitors. So just me and an engineer or a producer and work. So I'm very excited with what I created during this period, because I think it brought back a certain raw energy that I began with.
There are a lot of celebrities, and you are one, who complain, and I'm not saying the next one is attributable to you, who complain about how tabloids treat them. Have you been a victim of unfair, unbiased, untrue reportage by tabloids? And how have you handled it, if there's been any? You send a tweet and someone decides to publish it in one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes to the territory, even though I disagree with it. The game is the game. I think where it becomes concerning is, let's say, if a reputable place like City FM decided to pick up on tabloid stuff, that's when it usually begins to get irritating. Okay. I mean, and also it depends on the subject matter as well. I mean, whether it's about a person's death and, some of these things that happen that are false, they can be triggering. But for the most part, I try and have a certain composure about how to deal with these things, and yeah, otherwise if in overreacting, you become the guy who's battling, and then the madman takes you.
And then you follow them. What's the most ridiculous thing you've heard published about you?
I mean, I probably won't repeat it to give it legs, but at least let me find something that is worth debunking.
Okay.
I think I once saw an article that was based on my tweets I put out concerning our approach when there's crime and Nigerians, because, and it's the Nigerians doing the crime. I think I framed a tweet in which saying that this happens to us in other places too, and we see it as unfair. So why would we repeat that to other people, and I think a couple of people and supposed news places took upon it and really maligned me and spoke about it as if I was naive. You don't know what's going on. And it was quite disappointing, because, and then guess what, 2 or 3 months later, all that was going on in South Africa is xenophobia, and you see the same people being so against South Africans, but being able to repeat that behavior. I think things of the sort, we have to have a level of self-reflection and not think that just because we can get away with being prejudiced and supporting injustice because you have an example or two that is cool, and that you would malign somebody given a different view and think of him as naive. That is, he doesn't know that's why.
Yeah.
No,
it will finish you for nothing.
I mean, so it's irritating because also it goes beyond me a problem like that because it has to do with how we are living and how we are approaching things, and we really cannot do that.
Yeah. In 2030, that will be in 10 years from today. What would M.anifest be, or what should we be expecting M.anifest to be?
Beyonce? No, okay.
No, you're not going to be a woman. You're not going to be a woman, so what are your aspirations? Essentially, that's what I'm saying. So that in 10 years' time, I mean, because 2010, we remember where you were in 2010. You've definitely moved miles away. In 2030,
I hope the universe make sure that my transformation in the next 10 years is way exceeds what has happened in the last 10 years, and that my contributions become more. I hope that the successes that I have are not just individual and personal ones. I hope I'm able to make a lot of global moves that also then reflect back into some of the work I'm doing.
Who do you want to feature?
Oh, when I wasn't even talking about feature.
I know. I'm just also asking that before you stop music, who would you want to? I mean, you've played with Obrafour. Now you're down, and there's some satisfaction for you.
I absolutely need to do something with Amanzu, but I think it's long overdue. On the local side, I've done some stuff with the Taylor, but I haven't done some stuff with some legendary people. I could see Japan too. I've been thinking about.
Any American rapper you want to do something with?
Oh, absolutely. There's many different ones. So I think
one that you want to do something.
One.
Definitely.
If you let either Kendrick or Cole or Drake bring themselves, we can make something happen.
You make yourself available. Which local, continental awards are you looking at, and international awards are you looking at getting? At all costs before you quit music?
I think one thing I realized, especially when I came back to Ghana, is my focus has to be on the work. The accolades are the things that come from the work. It's not within my control, neither should it be what drives me.
Artist of the Year?
None of these things drive me. It's the work. If I excel, as I hope I think I do, otherwise I wouldn't be Absa brand ambassador. Shout out to Absa. But then the story would never be he didn't win this award. The story would be like, it's so ridiculous. But Mali didn't win.
Why didn't he win? Because he deserves it.
So the work has to be the one to speak. The work, the legacy, that's what leads you. That's the reputation. That's what you leave behind. So that when I'm gone a century, when they're talking about you and I, is our work, and I hope that's what I do.
M.T. Thank you for being on Face to Face.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor. Yeah.
And that'll be it for our show today. My name is Omar Osanda Amadou. We'll be back next week with another exciting edition on Face to Face on the City TV. It's your world. Don't go anywhere.
Precision, style, class, execution, talent. Congratulations to the top 20 contestants that made it to the main audition for Keyboard Idol. The question is, which of these 20 talents will be in the top 10 and ultimately become the Keyboard Idol? Catch the Keyboard Idol every Saturday